In the journey of life, the legs are the first to surrender, not the eyes, not the hands, not the heart. It is the legs that whisper the arrival of decline. When we are young, our legs are like thunder, strong, reliable, fast. We climb mountains, dance in rain, chase dreams. But with age, they grow quiet, and in that silence, death begins to speak, not loudly, softly, in small things, the step you don't take. The walk you skip, the stairs you fear, that is where death begins, in stillness. If you are 60, 70, or 80, listen carefully. Not with your ears, but with your body. Your legs are messengers of your future. If they grow weak, your heart works harder. Your lungs shrink, your brain receives less blood, your freedom starts to disappear, but there is a way to fight back, not with pills or promises, but with nourishment and motion. What should you eat? Not magic, just wisdom. Eat what gives life to your blood, what strengthens bones, what keeps joints smooth and muscles awake. Foods rich in magnesium, potassium, omega-3, and calcium. Leafy greens, nuts, chia seeds, fatty fish, sweet potatoes, turmeric berries, and fermented foods like kimchi or yogurt. Eat them not just with your mouth, but with respect. These are not trends. They are tools of longevity. But remember this truth, what you eat matters. But what you move matters more, so rise, stand, stretch, walk, climb, dance. Your legs are not dead. Not yet wake them, because when you stop moving, death starts moving in. In the quiet process of aging, the first betrayal often comes from below, the legs. Not because they are weak in design, but because they carry the weight of decades. Every step taken through life, every mile walked, every burden carried, it is the legs that bear it first. Over time, without our noticing, this accumulated weight begins to reveal itself in subtle tremors, a missed step, a hesitant climb, a sudden need for support. It is not a fall that signals decline. It is the fear of falling. Legs are our foundation, not just physically, but symbolically. They represent freedom, strength, and independence. From a child's first steps to an elder's final ones, they hold the stories of our lives. Yet we tend to take them for granted. We work the arms, the chest, the visible muscles in the mirror, and forget the quiet endurance of the thighs, knees, calves, and feet. When these begin to weaken, life itself begins to shrink. The physiology of this is simple but often ignored. After the age of 30, humans naturally begin to lose muscle mass, a condition known as sarcopenia. This decline accelerates with age, especially without regular resistance training. The legs, being the largest muscle group in the body, are most affected, and unlike other parts, the cost of weak legs is not just cosmetic, it is deeply functional. It affects balance, gait, blood circulation, and joint health. One of the most alarming consequences of leg weakness is reduced mobility. When older adults start to avoid stairs or when they hesitate before walking long distances, it's not just about convenience, it's about capacity. This avoidance leads to even more muscle atrophy, creating a dangerous loop. The less you move, the harder movement becomes. This is how independence quietly slips away. Weak legs also mean poor circulation. The calf muscles act as secondary pumps for the heart. When they contract, they help push blood back up toward the upper body. If these muscles are weak or inactive, blood flow slows down. This increases the risk of blood clots, edema, and even cognitive decline due to reduced oxygenation to the brain. So, when the legs lose strength, the whole body pays the price. There is also a powerful psychological component to leg weakness. As walking becomes more difficult, confidence fades. People begin to fear falling, and that fear creates avoidance behavior. Social outings are skipped. Morning walks are replaced by sedentary routines. Isolation follows, and with it comes emotional and mental decline. Depression, anxiety, and loneliness creep in, not because of the legs themselves, but because of the limitations they now impose. Leg weakness does not announce itself with a trumpet. It arrives silently, often disguised as just aging. A little stiffness here, a little soreness there, but these are not just signs of time, they are warnings. Warnings that the foundation is beginning to erode. And when a foundation erodes, even the strongest structures eventually fall. The tragedy is not in the aging of the legs, that is natural. The tragedy is in letting them weaken without resistance. Muscles respond to use. Even at 60, 70, or 80, they can be trained, strengthened, and revived. But the first step is awareness, to notice the early signs, to respect them, and to act before the quiet becomes permanent. The body was not made for stillness. Nature did not design us to sit. It shaped us to move, to rise with the sun, to walk across the earth, to climb, to bend, to stretch. Movement is life, and the legs are its messengers. When you move them daily, you send a signal to your body, I am still here, I am still needed, keep me alive. Without that message, the body slowly begins to shut down systems it thinks are no longer in use. And the legs, silent and obedient, begin to fade. Walking is the most natural form of movement, yet it is often the first to be abandoned as we age. A short walk each morning and evening is more than exercise. It is a ritual of renewal. Each step stimulates the muscles, massages the joints, pumps blood through the veins, and awakens the lungs. Walking is also meditation in motion, a way to align the body and mind, to reconnect with rhythm and breath. To walk is to stay grounded, not just physically, but spiritually. Stretching, though often dismissed, is a sacred practice. As we age, the tendons tighten, joints lose lubrication, and range of motion diminishes. A few minutes of stretching each day keeps the muscles supple and the joints open. It prevents stiffness from turning into immobility. Stretching also teaches patience. It is not about force, but about listening to the body, expanding gradually, breathing through the resistance. Each stretch says, I still possess space inside me. I am not closing, I am opening. Climbing stairs is a hidden gift. In each step upward lies a resistance that strengthens the legs, activates the core, and challenges balance. And like walking on flat ground, stair climbing forces the legs to lift the body weight vertically, a powerful form of strength training without equipment. Just a few flights a day can preserve muscle mass and boost cardiovascular health. It also builds confidence. When you can climb, you know you are not yet conquered by time. Many fear movement because they associate it with pain, but inactivity causes far more suffering. Pain from use is often temporary. Pain from disuse becomes chronic. Muscles that aren't stretched begin to ache. Joints that aren't moved begin to swell. Bones that aren't loaded begin to weaken. The paradox is simple. The less you move, the harder it becomes to move. The more you move, the more your body learns to support itself. Daily movement also strengthens proprioception, the body's internal sense of position and balance. With age, this sensory system dulls. But when you walk on uneven paths, when you shift your weight, when you stretch into unfamiliar shapes, the nervous system sharpens. You become more aware of your center, you fall less, you recover faster. Movement, then, is not just about muscles. It's about intelligence, coordination, and awareness. There is no requirement to move like a warrior or athlete. The aim is not exhaustion. The goal is continuity. 10 minutes of walking, 5 minutes of stretching, a few steps climbed with attention and care. It is consistency that transforms, not intensity. These small movements, done daily, become threads of resilience woven into the fabric of your life. They prevent the unraveling that begins with neglect. The body speaks quietly, especially in old age. It doesn't shout, it whispers, stretch me, use me, move me. When those whispers are ignored, they become stiffness, pain, instability. But when they are heard, the body responds with grace. It becomes more agile, more confident, more alive. Daily movement is not optional at 60, 70, or 80. It is survival, it is medicine. It is the most ancient language of vitality. Mobility is the silent thread that weaves through every act of human independence. It is not just about walking from one place to another. It is the ability to engage with the world, to rise when called, to reach when needed, to participate in life. When the legs grow weak, mobility begins to falter. This isn't always sudden, it's gradual, like sand slipping through fingers. One day it's a shortness of breath while climbing stairs. Another day it's choosing the elevator when you once took the steps with ease. What most don't realize is that the body does not function in parts. It is a system of systems, a network where everything is connected. The legs may seem distant from the brain or the heart, but in truth they are deeply entwined. Reduced leg strength means reduced movement, and reduced movement slows the entire body. Blood flow decreases, oxygen supply thins, and vital organs, especially the heart and brain, begin to operate at a less than optimal level. This is not weakness of the legs alone. It is the beginning of a whole body compromise. Falling is not just a physical event. It is a fracture of trust between the mind and the body. A single fall in old age can shatter confidence, leading to fear of future movement. That fear breeds hesitation, and hesitation in turn leads to inactivity. Falls are not always dramatic. They can be a stumble on uneven ground, a slip in the bathroom, a missed step off a curb. But the damage goes beyond bruises or broken bones. It disrupts the rhythm of life, turning routine actions into perceived dangers. Beyond the fall itself, the risk of falling changes behavior. People begin to move more slowly with uncertainty. They avoid going outside alone. They decline invitations that involve too much standing or walking. They stay home, and soon the home becomes a cage. The fear of falling is invisible, but it binds tightly. It prevents engagement with the world, and this isolation is one of the most dangerous effects of physical decline. Not because of the body alone, but because the mind and spirit suffer when movement is no longer trusted. Weak legs do something subtle to the lungs as well. Physical movement, especially involving the lower body, helps expand the lungs, deepen breathing, and improve oxygen exchange. When you walk, your breathing synchronizes with your steps. But when walking becomes limited, breathing also becomes shallow. This shallow breathing reduces the amount of oxygen your lungs can deliver, which in turn affects cellular energy production throughout the body. You begin to feel tired, not because you're old, but because your cells are starved for breath. The heart, too, suffers in silence. The more you move, the more your heart is challenged to pump blood efficiently. This is how it stays strong. But when leg weakness limits movement, the heart gets less stimulation. Over time, it becomes less efficient, more vulnerable. This increases the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. It is not the legs that kill, but the chain reaction their weakness sets into motion. And then there is the brain, that master of coordination and balance. With every step you take, the brain calculates terrain, posture, and equilibrium. This constant adjustment keeps neural pathways sharp, but if movement decreases, those pathways weaken. Cognitive decline is often accelerated by reduced physical activity. Studies have shown that walking regularly, especially at a brisk pace, is directly correlated with better memory, faster thinking, and reduced risk of dementia. So when legs grow still, the mind can follow. This is why leg strength is not just a matter of walking. It is a matter of living. When the legs begin to weaken, everything begins to slow, the blood, the breath, the beat of the heart, the spark of the mind. And though the decline may seem distant in the beginning, its arrival is inevitable unless met with awareness, effort, and action. The body is not built from motion alone. It is constructed, sustained, and repaired through nourishment. Just as a tree draws its strength from the soil, our bones, muscles, and organs are shaped by what we consume. In youth, the body can recover from poor choices, but with age, every meal becomes a message to the cells, either a signal of healing or a signal of harm. Especially after 60, food stops being just fuel. It becomes medicine or poison. Inflammation is the silent fire that spreads through the aging body. It does not always scream in pain, but it burns in the joints, clouds the mind, and weakens the muscles. Chronic inflammation is the root of many illnesses: arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, and even cognitive decline. What we eat either feeds that fire or calms it. Processed foods, excess sugar, and artificial oils act as fuel for this fire. In contrast, natural, whole foods serve as water, cooling, cleansing, and protective. Muscles, especially in the legs, require more than movement to stay alive. They need protein to rebuild, minerals to contract, and antioxidants to protect. With age, the body becomes less efficient at using protein, which means older adults actually need more, not less. Yet many eat less with time, not realizing that muscle loss is not only due to disuse, but also undernourishment. Leg strength depends on what is on your plate just as much as how often you walk. Calcium and vitamin D are well-known allies for bones, but they are only part of the picture. Magnesium is just as vital. It allows calcium to enter the bones and stay there. Without magnesium, calcium can build up in the wrong places, hardening arteries instead of strengthening the skeleton. Potassium is equally important. It reduces bone loss by neutralizing acidity in the body. And vitamin K2, found in fermented foods, helps direct calcium to the bones and away from soft tissues. These are not exotic supplements. They are found in greens, seeds, fish, and fermented vegetables. Food affects not only structure, but also circulation. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon or plant sources like chia seeds, improve blood flow and reduce inflammation in blood vessels. This means better oxygen delivery to the muscles, including the legs, and less stiffness in the joints. Turmeric, with its golden color and ancient history, contains curcumin, a compound known to fight inflammation as powerfully as some pharmaceutical drugs, without the side effects. When taken with black pepper, its absorption increases dramatically, a small yet powerful ritual. Fermented foods play a hidden but essential role. Aging often brings digestive decline. The body produces fewer enzymes, absorbs fewer nutrients. Fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, kefir, and miso contain probiotics that restore gut health, enhance digestion, and boost immune function. A healthy gut ensures that the nutrients you eat are actually absorbed and delivered. Without this, even the best diet can fail to reach its purpose. The legs will not benefit from calcium or protein if the gut cannot extract them. Hydration, often forgotten, is also part of nutrition. Muscles are 75% water. Joints are cushioned by synovial fluid, which depends on hydration. Blood becomes sluggish when water is scarce. At older ages, thirst decreases, but the need for water increases. Herbal teas, broths, and mineral-rich water help nourish the body gently and effectively. Every sip is a form of movement inside, flowing through the tissues, washing away toxins, keeping cells plump and responsive. To eat well in old age is not an indulgence, it is an act of self-respect. It is a conversation between the earth and the body, between wisdom and instinct. Each bite becomes a choice, to decay or to defend, to wither or to thrive. When you feed the body with intention, you don't just nourish the muscles and bones. You feed the will to move, to engage, to keep living fully. In this way, food becomes not just sustenance, but a sacred practice. Magnesium and potassium, two minerals often overlooked, yet essential to the very rhythm of life. These are not just nutrients. They are conductors in the great orchestra of the body. Every muscle contraction, every heartbeat, every pulse of energy through your nervous system depends on their silent work. When the legs begin to weaken, when cramps appear, when balance falters, the root is often not age, but absence. The absence of magnesium, the absence of potassium. Magnesium is the mineral of relaxation. It soothes muscles, calms nerves, regulates blood pressure, and allows calcium to bind to bones properly. Without magnesium, the body becomes tense, not just emotionally, but physically. Muscles grow tight. Sleep becomes shallow. Cramps emerge in the calves during the night like sudden lightning strikes. For the elderly, this can be frightening, but it is often a whisper from the body, "Feed me what I am missing." Potassium, on the other hand, is the mineral of movement. It balances fluids inside and outside cells. It keeps the electrical signals between muscles and nerves stable. It works with sodium to keep your heart beating with rhythm. A deficiency in potassium does not always present itself loudly. Sometimes it's just a feeling of fatigue, a heaviness in the legs, a slight tremble in the limbs. But over time, this imbalance can contribute to high blood pressure, kidney stress, and irregular heartbeat. In older adults, even a small deficiency can have a large impact. Nature provides these minerals freely, but modern habits push them away. Highly processed foods, white bread, sugary snacks, deep fried meals strip away minerals while flooding the body with sodium. It is a dangerous imbalance. We are oversalted and undernourished. The answer is not in pills, but in plants. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard are rich in magnesium and potassium. Their deep green color is not just aesthetic, it is a signature of mineral richness, a sign of life. Bananas, too, are gentle allies, portable, sweet, and nourishing. They carry potassium in perfect proportion. One banana can soothe a muscle, stabilize blood sugar, and give a subtle burst of energy. But even more powerful are foods like sweet potatoes, earthy, vibrant, filled with both potassium and complex carbohydrates that sustain energy without crashing the system. Baked, steamed, or boiled, they offer more than taste. They offer support to the aging body. Nuts and seeds are also potent sources of magnesium. Almonds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, and cashews, just a small handful each day, can restore mineral levels, support bone density, and reduce inflammation. When soaked before eating, these foods become even more digestible, their nutrients more bioavailable. These are ancient foods, not just snacks, but traditions of nourishment. They require no factory, no additives, only presence and intention. The elderly are often told to eat less, and yes, metabolism slows with age, but eating less should not mean eating worse. In fact, as the volume of food decreases, the density of nutrients must increase. Every meal must count. A bowl of sautéed greens with garlic and olive oil, a warm sweet potato with a drizzle of tahini, a banana with cinnamon in the morning. These are not recipes. They are rituals, small offerings to the body, acts of respect for a life still unfolding. Magnesium and potassium do not make headlines. They are not trendy, but they are fundamental. Without them, strength becomes weakness, grace becomes stiffness, and energy becomes exhaustion. To walk well, to breathe deeply, to sleep soundly, the body must be mineral, rich, and these minerals must be eaten daily, not in bursts, but in rhythm. Just as the earth rotates and the tides rise, The body too thrives on steady cycles, and that cycle begins with what we choose to place on our plate. Inflammation is not always loud. It does not always announce itself with pain or fever. Sometimes it is quiet, a slow, invisible decay happening beneath the skin, inside the joints, along the blood vessels. At first, it may feel like stiffness in the morning, a dull ache in the knees, a heaviness in the legs after a short walk. But over the years, inflammation becomes the architect of decline, and its most loyal allies are not injuries or time, but the very foods we consume every day without question. Sugar is the most seductive destroyer. It wears a friendly face, sweet, comforting, celebratory, yet behind its charm lies a silent betrayal. Excess sugar increases blood glucose, triggers insulin resistance, and feeds systemic inflammation. For the legs, this means weakened circulation, slower muscle repair, and increased fat storage in the thighs and calves. Over time, sugar hardens the arteries that supply blood to your limbs, making even simple walking feel labored. This is not aging. This is a choice repeated too often. Refined carbohydrates, white bread, pastries, instant noodles, crackers behave like sugar once inside the body. They spike blood sugar quickly, then leave it crashing. They provide calories without life, bulk without substance. These foods inflame the gut lining, disrupt the microbiome, and create metabolic instability. The energy they offer is short-lived, followed by fatigue, fogginess, and a craving for more. It becomes a cycle, one that tightens its grip especially on those whose digestion and energy are already in decline. Then there are the oils, not the natural oils from olives, nuts, or avocados, but the cheap industrial oils extracted from seeds in factories. Corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil, these are heavily refined, often oxidized, and stripped of any natural antioxidants. Once consumed, they promote oxidative stress, increase inflammation, and disrupt hormonal balance. They stiffen the arteries, promote joint pain, and make the legs feel heavier than they are. These oils don't nourish, they coat, they clog. When these inflammatory foods become staples in an older adult's diet, they form a kind of quiet conspiracy. The joints swell, the muscles shrink, the fat increases, the bones weaken, the feet ache, and slowly walking becomes a task instead of a joy. The body, once fluid and strong, becomes rigid and cautious. Every step begins to feel like effort, not because of age, but because the very fuel the body runs on is flawed. The problem is not indulgence, it is routine. A slice of cake on a birthday is not dangerous. A soft drink once a month will not undo your vitality. But when sugar is eaten every day, when white flour becomes the foundation of every meal, when processed oils line every pan, then inflammation becomes a daily visitor. And with it comes weakness, imbalance, fragility. This is not fate. This is the result of small choices repeated again and again. Healing begins with subtraction. Remove what does not serve the body, and the body will begin to heal itself. Cut down sugar, not just the obvious desserts, but hidden sugars in sauces, breads, and dressings. Replace refined carbs with whole grains, roots, and legumes. Cook with oils that nourish, extra virgin olive oil, ghee, cold pressed sesame oil. The body does not need perfection, it needs consistency, and the older we get, the more this consistency becomes sacred. When inflammation retreats, mobility returns, muscles recover, swelling fades, blood flows more freely. There is a lightness in the legs that was once thought lost to time, but it wasn't time, it was toxicity. And once the source is removed, the legs can begin to breathe again. They can carry you not just across the floor, but back into life. Water is life's most subtle healer. It carries no flavor, no fragrance, no fanfare, yet it is the foundation of every living system inside you. Muscles are not built only by protein and exercise. They are made pliable, responsive, and alive by water. The blood that carries oxygen to your legs, the lymph that removes toxins, the synovial fluid that cushions your knees, all of these depend on hydration. And yet many people, especially those in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, walk through their days in a quiet state of drought. With age, the body's natural thirst signal weakens. You may not feel thirsty, but the body still suffers. Dehydration is not always dramatic. It doesn't need to be. Sometimes it appears as dry skin or a feeling of tightness in the calves. Sometimes it's that unexplained fatigue after climbing a few stairs. Sometimes it's a dizzy spell or a nighttime cramp. These are not just signs of age, they are the whispers of a body that has not been quenched. Blood becomes sluggish when water is scarce. Thick blood moves slowly, especially through the narrow vessels of the legs and feet. This limits the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the muscles, slows recovery, and increases the risk of clotting. Circulation suffers, and with it, vitality. Good hydration thins the blood just enough to let it flow like a river, not like mud. And when blood flows, healing flows, energy flows, life flows, muscles too are affected. A dehydrated muscle is a stiff muscle. It tightens more quickly, recovers more slowly, and cramps more often. The older body is more prone to muscle loss already, but without enough water, even the muscles you do maintain become less functional. Water allows the muscle fibers to glide past one another, to absorb nutrients, and to respond to movement with grace. Without it, even stretching becomes harder, even walking becomes effort. The joints, knees, hips, ankles are especially vulnerable. Inside each joint is synovial fluid, a gel-like substance that cushions bone and allows for smooth motion. This fluid is composed largely of water. When you are dehydrated, your joints lose this protection. Movement becomes noisy, a crunch here, a click there, and then pain. Hydration is not just about drinking when you are thirsty. It is about keeping the body's internal rivers full, so that every joint is cushioned and every step is quiet. Water is also a transporter. It carries minerals like potassium, calcium, and magnesium to the cells that need them. You can eat the right foods, take the right supplements, but if your body is dehydrated, those nutrients cannot arrive at their destination. The delivery system is stalled. The legs, being the farthest point from the heart, suffer first. Poor hydration starves the legs not only of water, but of everything else the water is supposed to bring. Hydration also influences the mind. Dehydration can lead to confusion, low mood, poor coordination, and slower reflexes. All of these increase the risk of falls, especially dangerous for older adults. A well-hydrated body is a sharper body. It moves more confidently, more gracefully. It is less afraid of stairs, of curbs, of walking without support. Water doesn't just keep the legs alive. It keeps the person inside those legs awake and aware. The source matters. Not all hydration is equal. Herbal teas, infused water with lemon or cucumber, broths made from vegetables or bones, these are hydrating and mineral-rich. Sugary drinks, excessive caffeine, and alcohol deplete more than they give. Make hydration a quiet ceremony. Begin the day with warm water to awaken the body. Sip throughout the day, not in gulps, but in rhythm. Let water become your companion, your ally. The more faithfully you drink, the more faithfully your legs will carry you. Food is not just about nutrients. It is about rhythm, presence, and energy. In the rush of daily life, especially in the modern world, we eat with distraction, a screen in front of us, a phone buzzing beside us, our thoughts scattered elsewhere. But the body does not digest in chaos. Digestion is a sacred act, a quiet alchemy where the outside becomes part of the inside. And this transformation happens best when the mind is still, when the body feels safe, and when eating becomes a ritual, not a race. As we grow older, the digestive fire naturally weakens. The body produces fewer digestive enzymes, the gut lining becomes more sensitive, and nutrient absorption slows. This makes the way we eat even more important than what we eat. You can have the most nutrient-dense meal, but if you eat it quickly, while stressed, while standing, while scrolling, the body will not receive its full benefit. It may pass through you half-used, leaving you full but unfed. To eat slowly is not laziness, it is wisdom. Chewing properly allows the saliva to begin breaking down starches and signaling the stomach to prepare its acids. Each bite, when chewed thoroughly, is easier to digest, easier to absorb, and less likely to cause bloating or discomfort. The elderly often deal with gas, constipation, and reflux, not because of poor food choices, but because the pace of eating has not matched the pace of the body's change. When you sit down to eat, make it a ceremony. Turn off the television, put away the phone, take 3 deep breaths before the first bite. Let your body know it is time to receive. This small act of mindfulness shifts the nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. It relaxes the stomach muscles, stimulates enzyme production, and brings blood to the digestive organs. In this state, the food becomes medicine. In a stressed state, the same food becomes a burden. Even the act of giving thanks silently or aloud can transform digestion. Gratitude softens the body. It releases tension. It creates a kind of openness that the gut can feel. Science may call it the parasympathetic response, but ancient traditions simply knew it as grace. When you honor your food, you honor the body that receives it, and that act of reverence is itself healing. Older adults often eat alone, and in solitude, meals can become mechanical, rushed, or joyless. But even in solitude, eating can be sacred. Light a candle, use your best plate, listen to gentle music. These are not indulgences, they are practices of self-care. They tell the body, you are still worth slowing down for. You are still alive. You still matter. And the body responds to this affirmation with better digestion, better mood, and better energy. The legs, too, are affected by this. Good digestion leads to better nutrient absorption, more magnesium for the muscles, more potassium for the nerves, more calcium for the bones. Blood sugar stays more stable, reducing inflammation and fatigue. The body becomes better nourished, and the legs become stronger, more balanced, and less prone to sudden weakness. What seems like a matter of food is actually a matter of presence, and presence is something we can all cultivate at any age. When we treat eating as a ritual, not a routine, everything changes. We return to something ancient, something the body has always known. That nourishment is not just about food, but about the state of the one receiving it. The hands that prepare the meal, the breath between the bites, the silence between the chewing, these things matter. And in honoring them, we nourish not just the legs, but the life within them. So now I leave you with this. Aging is not defeat. It is not the slow collapse of strength. It is the invitation to live with deeper awareness. Your legs do not fail simply because of years. They fail when nourishment is neglected, when movement is abandoned, when the rituals of care are forgotten. But it is never too late, not at 60, not at 70, not even at 80. Every bite, every step, every breath, these are all choices. Small, simple choices that together shape the strength of your body and the clarity of your mind. Begin today. Eat with intention, move with grace, drink with reverence, remove what inflames you and invite what heals you. Reclaim your legs not just to walk, but to live fully, to move freely, to stand with dignity. This is not about surviving old age. This is about rising into it with strength, with softness, with the wisdom of a body finally being heard. Because death does not start in your heart nor in your head. It begins in the silence of your legs, when you stop walking, when you stop moving, when you stop feeding them what they need. But life, too, begins there, in the simple act of standing up, stepping forward, and choosing to keep going. Eat well, walk daily, breathe deeply, and may your legs carry you far, not just through the world, but deeper into the quiet joy of being alive,